So it turns out I've been wrong all these years. I recently found out the secret to wealth, guys. And, oh, excuse me, I'm willing to share the secret with you, but I should really write a book and, be really condescending and shit like that in it. But I'm just going to share the secret because I learned it from somebody else. But it turns out the secret to getting wealth is actually I should have bought like 10 to 15 rental properties before I was in grade 7. So, you know, I don't know how I missed the train on that. 7th grade, I should have known better. Should have saved my allowances. I should have been buying houses. What was I thinking, man? What an idiot. Welcome, everybody, back to Not Rich, Just Bored, episode number 75. So, yeah, I know. Sorry, I got full fucking triggered. I got crazy triggered because I was watching some reels, just chilling, when you're trying to kill the last 20 minutes of work and there's nothing to do, and so you're just scrolling, and I call it doom scrolling. I think a lot of people do too. I think it's like I think that's what you call it now, but I was just doom scrolling, and all of a sudden I come across this reel of this guy talking about how he found a secret to like getting rich, or whatever his trick was to be successful in life. And it was like, by the time you're 30 years old, you should have 10 rental properties. And I'm like, are you fucking crazy? Like 10 properties. And the stupidest thing about that whole like premise, I mean, besides the fact that nobody could afford to buy 10 properties by the time of 30, is just the fact that he's just condescending, and like it sucks because there's a lot of people that fell into that mindset too, and like from back in the day. And like that's why I joked that I was in grade 7, I couldn't fucking even buy houses like during the housing crisis. That's why those rich guys were buying them all up. But because they nabbed up all the properties and jacked up the rent, that's why we have a housing crisis now. That's why the housing is so fucking expensive, is because it's just like it's through the roof. It's people are buying a bunch of rentals, so they can't make it so everybody can just keep buying it easily. So they have to jack up the price to make it a little bit harder to get one. But unfortunately, for anybody that didn't get one already, you're fucked. Sorry. But I'm so fucking sick of this shit, man. You guys, fuck's sake. Like, I'm literally holding my head right now because I'm just so sick of seeing these inspirational. It's always wealth, right? It'll be some random TikTok or whatever. It'll be like wealth management, wealth ideas, wealth simple, wealth fuck you in your ass. Like it's always some fucking dickhead with like business mindset, any kind of thing like that. And it's always the same fucking talking head. It's like, you should invest in, you should invest in the real estate market. And it's like, do you think, listen to me, come here. I'm going to grab you by the fucking neck right now. If you're listening to this, you piece of shit, I'm going to grab you around your fucking neck. And you listen to me good. You listen to Code Man. The Code Man now. Cody. That's right. You listen to me. Look. Are you listening? Yeah? Okay? Yeah? It's called padding, guys. Calm down. People are not buying houses. It's not because they think that housing is not a good investment. Okay? We all know housing is it's a good investment. Housing has only ever really gone up, or at least stayed the same or relatively close. Okay, fuck faces. That's not why people aren't buying houses. They're not buying houses because they can't afford them. All right, and it just makes me livid, because as much as I don't care, and I think people should be able to do what they want, but at the same time, I really don't think that shelter, I've said this 100 times on here, I'll say it 100 more times. Shelter should not be an investment. It should not be dollars and number signs. It should be a basic human right. At the end of the day, And by that, I'm not fucking taking the hippie fucking liberal approach of giving free housing, and that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying for an average 3-bedroom home, maybe one garage if you're lucky, I should be looking at $500,000. Like, are you fucking crazy? And some of you are probably listening to this being like, $500,000? That's a cheap, that's a steal. Yeah, well, that's in a modest sized city. That's not a huge city. But you go like, I've heard of like a bigger Canadian city like Calgary or Montreal or something like that. A house is probably fucking $800,000. That same house. So it is location, location, location for sure. But like, my point is, it's insane that the housing has gotten such like to these enormous sorry, I fucking got something in my throat. But it's the housing has gotten inflated so much that it's just nuts. And like these fucking investor people seem to think that people there we go, we got it. Got it, guys. They seem to think that like people aren't listening, like people are investing in housing because they just like, no, it's a bad idea. I'm not listening to you. It's a bad idea. No, we're not investing because we don't have fucking money to invest. All right, we have none. Like we can't even afford a place to live. Like, it boils my blood how expensive everything has gotten. And there was this one person that this is another reel that I scrolled through that fucking made me want to slap the shit out of them. It was some person talking about how the carbon tax is a good thing in Canada, and it makes it so that like she's trying to basically explain it. She literally called it Canadian explaining or Canadian explaining. It's fucking stupid, but and she's playing Tears of the Kingdom like Legend of Zelda, and she's trying to explain this whole. She's trying to explain while she's playing that game. She's like trying to explain this whole carbon tax thing, and she's talking about how well it's actually like it only ever penalizes the big companies. It penalizes the people that pollute the most. And if you're just an average normal person who doesn't pollute, like you just normal human, not a business or a corporate entity, then it's just a net benefit for you. And I'm just like, fuck, holy shit. I've never seen such a brain dead individual in my life. Like I'm very sorry. I'm sure you're a wonderful person, but holy fuck are you stupid. Like definitely very wrong about the carbon tax. The carbon tax has upped everything. And I've had some pushback on this because I've said that the carbon tax, just what it does, it increases fuel ultimately and, emissions. It ups all of those costs. But those companies, that cost, so groceries have gone up. Well, groceries don't have carbon. Well, yes, they do because the groceries have to get to the fucking store somehow, right? So how do they get there? They get there on semi-trailers. Semi-trailers run on diesel and gas. Okay? So, but do you think those companies are going to do that out of their, the goodness of their heart? Like, be like, yeah, we'll pay extra just to get your food to you because we're so nice. No, those motherfuckers only care about one thing, and that's profit. And so they're going to up the price of the groceries. It's going to go down the line. So ultimately, right now, groceries have doubled. Gas has like gone insane, out of control recently. And I've had some pushback because I commented, like, just basically call this person brain dead, which isn't very nice. I don't recommend bullying, but it was just such a bad take to me. But then I had some pushback by a bunch of people saying, like, most of them were just white knighting for her, to be honest, because she was hot. But like a lot of the guys, the pushback I received was some people that were just saying like it's not actually the carbon tax's fault. It's actually the companies are just greedy, and the companies are like aligning these extra costs with the carbon tax to make it seem like it's the carbon tax that's doing it, but it's actually them raising the prices just to basically be like, look, we got to get rid of this carbon tax because the carbon tax it's a net loss for them because they are the biggest polluters. And I'm not going to argue with that. That is, yes, that is absolutely true. But My point is, it goes back to the whole tax of itself. Even if that is true, even if they are raising the prices just to make it seem like it's a carbon tax, well, then that is still a causation of the carbon tax, and it's a feature of it. You know, it's not a bug. That's what happens. Because these, what did I say earlier? Sorry, I'm still trying to fight a bit of a cold here, but that's why I sound a little really lazily. But what I said earlier was that these companies don't do anything out of the goodness of their hearts. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you'll understand what's going on here, economically speaking. It's just literally, that's all it is. They're losing more money from the carbon tax, so they're upping the price of their goods. That's what it comes down to. Okay, I'm not trying to be a fucking yes man for companies. I'm not trying to support big companies because they're as corrupt as they come, guys. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm just saying it's a causality. You get the carbon tax, you're gonna get people with more prices. All right. And her logic in her video about why it's a net positive is because you get the rebate. We get a quarterly rebate. But listen, motherfuckers, this quarterly rebate is equal to about, it's like $200 every quarter. So that's like $800 a year, which is cool. That's cool. But the up price of goods because of it, I'm probably spending an extra $2,000 on fuel, on fuel and groceries. So it's a net loss of like $1,200. And I don't know. I know that sounds insane, but it's actually incredibly, absolutely true. Because, like, I'm not joking. Groceries have doubled in price. So I don't know. You know, if you think I'm wrong, feel free to leave it in the comments, guys. I welcome it. I invite criticism because that's how you grow as a person. But like, I'm sorry, I can't. It's really, really hard for me to see videos like that supporting the carbon tax. It's like it doesn't add up. If you do the math and if you look at, you know, the net positive to the net benefit, like the benefits you get to like how much more expensive everything is, it just doesn't add up. It doesn't work out, guys. It just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, but that's just how it goes. But anyways, that's the end of that rant. But these other guys that are like, you know, going crazy. They're going crazy with this whole housing thing. It's just like, you guys don't understand how insane you sound right now. Like telling telling people to invest in housing and like just that just, oh my god, that shit drives me bananas. It's, do you really think that people aren't, like, people don't want housing? No, we would love it, but ultimately, I think it'd be great if if and it really sucks because, and I've talked about it on here before, but like, I would like to put a cap on housing, but also I think people should be allowed to do what they want. That's a conundrum I have. So I don't have a solution. I don't know what it is, but I think like my actual solution that I would think of would be, you know, you get to buy a house or two, but after like your third house, you got to pay like extra tax or something. You know, they have certain laws in place where, like for house flipping and stuff, you can't house flip every year. Like you can't just buy a house, remodel it, then flip it because you have to pay a boatload of taxes. You have to wait a year in between. So there are certain tax codes and stuff that are in place to kind of protect you, you know, from that shit. But like ultimately it just doesn't work. The problem I have is when you get like one or two people and they own 30 fucking buildings, it's like that's not fair. Like it's just like it's not fair because it's just like, you know, they're never going to give that up. They're never going to give that power up. That's the best passive income. But the problem is, and you know, you'll always hear like people talk about late stage capitalism, and it is, unfortunately, I will have to agree, it is a problem with late stage capitalism is that if you were born tough shit, you know what I mean? It's like it's the same. like the joke I opened with, where I'm like, oh, I should have been buying houses while I was in seventh grade, chewing on pens, and that's just the truth. I should have been, but I wasn't an adult. I wasn't making money, so I couldn't have. So we missed out on that whole thing. So, and yeah, you could work hard and you could do this and do that. Yeah, fine, whatever. I don't give a fuck. It ultimately doesn't matter. You know, if you miss the boat, you miss the boat. It's same with like crypto. A lot of people like when they had the early Bitcoin and all that shit. They made out very well. But right now, getting into Bitcoin, it's hard. It's like fucking 50K for one Bitcoin. So it's not easy to get into. And it's just like for me, I just fear for the future of housing. It's just like when I hear the government and people talking about generational loans, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. That bugs me. That really irks me. Like a generational loan. And I think I've talked about this before on here too. But like a generational loan is where like you take out a loan, but it's for so long that you're not going to pay it off. It's generational. So your kids will have to pay it off. And then, if they don't pay it off, it'll be their kids' kids and so on and so forth. It's dark. You don't want that. Oh, excuse me, Jesus. I'm just like fucked up today. You can hear my grovelly voice going on because I'm talking too much. And we got back from. I'm done with the housing thing. You guys get it. I'm fucking pissed. Whatever. But we just got back from our guys' disc golf trip. We did a bunch of courses. It was super fun. We drank a lot of liquor. We got pretty liquored up, but we had a good time. And one of my buddies actually got an ace on a hole, which was pretty cool to witness. I've never actually witnessed an ace in person, so that was cool. And an ace, for those of you who don't know, is that's a hole in one. So he got the disc into the basket with the first shot. So pretty cool thing. Really hype, like the most clutch play ever. And it just, yeah, fucking super hype when that happens. I imagine it's a kid to getting a hole in one in golf, like very hype. But either way, it was a good trip, but we had lots of fun. We didn't get rained on. I thought we were gonna get rained on a lot, but we didn't. And the best part of the trip is, you guys know what it is. You know what the best part was? I'll tell you. The best part of the trip was my van, my Chrysler Pacifica, and everybody makes fun of the guy with the van till it's time to go on a road trip. And you guys are all so fucking comfortable. And I didn't think the guys were way more entertained by I have like there's the little Blu-ray screens in the back, but the screens also have built-in games. And I did not think that like four other grown men in the back would be so fucking entertained by these screens. Like I thought they'd just watch movies and whatever. But there's like built-in like solitaire and like there's a word guessing game, like a hangman type game, and they are just fucking giving her back there. And it makes me happy too. I'm like, oh, I'm glad they're having fun. This is awesome. And like, you know, it's just I never I expect them to watch movies, sure, whatever, but like I did not expect them to get that much fun out of like solitaire and a word guessing game. They're just fucking hype, and I think by the end of the trip they all wanted a van of their own. And I'm like, I'm telling you guys, they're not like. I mean, it's hard for me because like when I had kids and I had to, well, I didn't have to get a van, but I was like, it'll be the best option just for storage and utility and to be able to carry the most kids possible, blah, blah, blah. I was like, it's honestly not a bad choice. And they're pretty cheap for the most part. And I was like, I don't really like vans though. But then, yeah, I saw the Chrysler Pacifica and I'm like, wow. Just like I sat in one. He's like, the car salesman was like, well, do you want to come test drive it? Take a look. I said, "Yeah, sure." I'm like, I've seen them before. Like, they look like the nicest vans on the market. Honestly, they look nice. So, and I don't say that about vans often. So, like, whatever. I'll take it for a test drive. And I got in there, and yeah, it had the interactive activity screens, and the Blu-ray player, and just like the captain seats in the middle, and then a big seat in the back that reclines. There's USB charging for like every seat. There's actually a 12-volt plug in the captain seats in the middle, like just fucking shit loaded to the nuts. And I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty badass. And then, when you're parked, also, you can watch movies on the front screen where the driver sits. So that doesn't work when you're driving, though, because obviously, distracted driving and all that. But I was like, wow, I can't believe how many features this has. So I pulled the trigger, and yeah, it was only like, I think it was like, it was used. So it was only like 22K, 25 after tax. This is Canadian. And then, I got the extended warranty for 5. So I ended up paying like 30 over 5 years. So it's not too bad. But it's a nice ride to just have a road trip in, because it just cruises. And shout out to my brother, I love you. He hooked me up with new tires before I left for the trip. I was a little worried because the old tires were really fucking ratty. They had one foot in the grave and the other was on a banana peel. So it was good of him to do that. I'm happy he was able to do that, and obviously I have to pay him back at some point. But it was just cool to have them before the trip. So, but yeah, it was a fun trip. Oh, hit my mic. Sorry, guys. It was a fun trip. We made a lot of good memories, and I got everybody to sign the original disc that I bought when I first got a disc golf. It was a Wraith, an Innova Wraith, and I love that disc so much. And I still want to get a champion version of it because I just think it's a really nice disc, and it was my first disc that I ever bought, and I just bought it randomly online. And again, I liked it. I liked the way it looked. I thought it was fun to throw, whatever. And I said, yeah, I love this disc, but it's unfortunate at this point, it's only a DX version. People that are, into disc golf will understand that, but it's made out of cheap plastic. So there's different grades of plastic you can get them in. And with Innova, there's their DX discs, which is the cheap plastic, and it tends to break down over time pretty easily, especially if you hit trees. So this Wraith has been beat up through hell. It was my first disc. And so I said, I can't play it anymore because the flight path is eventually they just get so beat up that the flight path you just can't trust it to do what you want to do because the flight path will be messed up. So I retired it in the best way I thought possible, and I got everybody to. We wrote the name on the rim. We wrote the name of our trip in 2023. And then I got everybody that went on a trip to sign it, and I'm just gonna kind of keep it as a memento as my first disc, and I think that was pretty cool. I It was a good trip. I wanted to commemorate in some way, and also send my original first disc. Send them off with a bang because I really did like that disc. It was a fun disc. I was actually very heartbroken. I almost lost it. I was playing a course in Edmonton. Shout out to Edmonton, Alberta. I was playing a course there and at Rendell Park, and I thought for sure I had lost my disc. But luckily I did find it. It went across a tree line and it went to a place I wouldn't expect. It went around a building. It was kind of crazy, but thankfully I did find it because that was the last time I used it because it totally flew. I threw it pretty much perfect, but it kind of veered off course just because of, like I said, it was so beat up. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to risk losing it somewhere. So I'm gonna just retire it while I still have it before I lose it somewhere where I can't retrieve it. So I would have been really heartbroken over that because when it's your first disc, I think it just kind of it's. I mean, any one of my discs that I use regularly, it's like sentimental almost. I haven't permanently lost a disc yet, thank God, but I'm sure people could tell you when they do lose them, it's pretty somber because and not necessarily because of the money, because they're the champion discs can be close to $40 depending on where you get them, but it's also just that there's a certain sentimentality that comes with them, like they're your discs, they're broken in by you, you're used to throwing them, you know how they fly, that's your disc. So I don't. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm the only one that does that as a disc golfer. I would be surprised, but I also wouldn't be surprised because I'm kind of a crazy person. But yeah, they're uh yeah, it was a great disc. But Wraith, rest in peace. It was good throwing you, and you will look good on my shelf. I love you. No, I'm not crazy talking to inanimate objects. You're crazy. But yeah. Uh other than that, sorry I'm coughing. But yeah, the only other thing I really had this week is a disappointment. And that's Diablo 4. Diablo 4. So I'm not done it. I've barely started it, but Jesus Christ. I don't get it. Like, GameSpot gave it a 9 out of 10. A lot of people are singing its praises. Even people I know, like local people, other dudes, they're talking very highly of Diablo 4 and how it's game changing and it's awesome. And yeah, I don't, I'm sorry guys, I don't see it. And I don't think this is going to be a Tears of the Kingdom thing where I'm like negative, but then actually I turn my, you know, I do a fucking heel turn and realize that I was fucking wrong all along. But it's it's just it's not a bad game. Diablo 4 is not bad, but it's gonna get old really quick. The skill trees are all very basic. Something I thought from the beta was just from the beta was the dungeons. So they had dungeons in that first area, but all the dungeons were always the same. And I think I talked about this earlier when I reviewed the beta on here. The dungeons, they're all the same. They go to a crossroads where there's a locked door, and you got to go to the right to get a key or an item, and then you got to go back and then go to the left and get a key or an item, and then you return to that big door and you put both of the items in, and then you enter and you fight a boss. And my complaint was that every one of the dungeons I did in the beta was like that. They all looked the fucking same. And lo and behold, we get to the full release of the game, and I'm thinking, well, that was just for the beta. You know, that's why it was like that. It was just the beta, and they didn't want to kind of spoil too much. So, you know, that's just how it was. But no, in the full release of the game, it's again every dungeon. And I'm not very far in the game yet, but I do have a buddy that has played a lot of the game. He's on one of the last acts, I believe. And he has confirmed with me that a lot of the dungeons are cookie cutter. They are the same fucking dungeon. And like in Diablo 2 back in the day, it was RNG. So dungeons, some of them had set patterns. There were a few, but most of them were just the same, but they were RNG where the exit would be. There would be a few different configurations and the exits would be kind of random. But, you know, and you know they were kind of annoying sometimes, but I would take that over like just a cookie cutter. Oh, clear out the right side, clear out the left side, okay, clear out the middle. That is so fucking boring, and the skill trees just look boring too. Like I just don't understand. And we've like me and Justin have talked about it ad nauseum on here before, but like just the drops in general for Diablo 2, every item kind of had a purpose, you know? And throughout the game, you had a chance of stumbling upon something really rare. Like I always bring up the Gold Dagger. When I played D2R, uh it was my first character, my first dungeon in the caves. On that, there's that one skeleton guy. I can't remember his name now, but it's a rare spawn and it can drop any item in the game. It was my first time on D2R, and he dropped the Gull Dagger, which is one of the best magic find items ever. It's only like a level 11 dagger, but it's amazing for magic find. And that's what was hype about it, was that there's items that are low level that you'll still use, and you can keep them in your stash because they're actually really good. Whereas in D4, just like D3, all you're looking for is that green arrow. That fucking green arrow. If it has a green arrow turning up, I mean, it's better than the one you have. And that's it. The stats are all the same. All the loot that drops is for your character and your character alone. And that's really it. It's fucking boring. I don't. It's fluid. It plays good. It plays nice. Everything looks really nice. But it's just the loot table is just boring. Like, we've talked about uh the spectral items before, like, and how they were unique in D2, like ethereals, and then how like some of the early ones, like the gray items, they weren't just trash necessarily. They had a purpose depending on if they had slots, and you can make rune words, like rune word items. But like in this new one, like I said, you look for the green arrow. If the green arrow's there, it's better. Equip it. Otherwise, sell. Sell, 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 sell. And also, I kind of lost it the other day. I lost the other day talking about legendaries. I was talking with Justin actually, and I was talking about legendary items in video games, in Blizzard games in particular. Now, here's my story from. I always bring it back to World of Warcraft because I just have very fond memories of WoW. But in the original World of Warcraft, when something was legendary, that meant something. There was only a few legendaries in the game. There's like Thunder Fury, the Blessed Blade of the Windseeker, which is badass as fuck. It was a one-headed sword, but it was bigger than any two-headed sword in the game. And then there was Ashbringer was not in the game though, I don't think. And there was the Hand of Ragnaros, I believe. I'm actually, you know what? I'm actually gonna look this up real quick. Here, I gotta move the mic back. I'm talking really close to the mic. You guys are gonna be able to hear me a lot. Oh, that was gross. Just hacked up a lung. Okay, original WoW legendaries. Uh Let me look. Oh, they have it on Wowhead. Wow, I haven't been on Wowhead in a long time. Yeah, so they have Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade, the Windseeker, which is one of my favorite weapons of all time. Sulphurous, the Hand of Ragnaros, and then Adonissus, Reaper of Souls. Let me look at this one. Oh, I don't think I've actually ever seen this thing in game. That's interesting. I Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that. Huh. It drops off a Tesh, who is a summoned demon in Stratholme and part of the Atesh Great Staff of the Guardian quest line. Yeah, because that's the other legendaries, Atesh, the Great Staff of the Guardian, uh, which which has like that staff has different versions for the mage, druid, priest, and warlock. But yeah, so there was only technically four, but there's four different versions of the Great Staff of the Guardian depending on your class when you do the quest. But yeah, there was only like four legendaries. So when you had one of these items in OG WoW, like it meant something. Like you were a badass. When you'd see people walking around with that baby, like you knew like that person was to be feared. They had something cool. But the way it is now in modern gaming, like Diablo 3, like just look at my video I did on the Diablo 4 world boss. I'm like level 20, not even level 20. And I got like four legendary items off of that boss. Like legendary, I've said it before, it's just a classification of item now. It's just another item. Like there's there's gray, and then there's uncommon green, rare blue, and then epic purple, and then above that's legendary, which is orange. But now it's just like it's just the way it is. Like epic is the new legendary because like you're guaranteed to get legendaries all the time. And I don't know. I don't like that personally. I just think that's really disingenuous because it's not like to me, if something is of legendary quality, I think of like those OG WoW weapons. I think of like Sulfurous or Thunder Fury. You know, like they were weapons that you didn't see every day because they had such an incredibly low drop rate. But when you did see them, you're like, oh, you like almost had to bow down because it was just such a cool weapon. But it was legendary. That's why it was legendary because it was so fucking cool. But now it's like, yeah, I'm decked out in full legendary gear by the time I'm level 20 in the newest like Diablo anyway. And WoW hasn't got much better. WoW has quite a bit of more legendaries. You know, they're a little bit more, I guess, they like WoW didn't have like, you know, hundreds upon thousands of, you know, legendary items per se, but still they have a lot more than what they did before for sure. But I just think that I don't know. To me, like a legendary classification should mean something more. It should be like, oh yeah, my full level 20 gear is all legendary. Like, okay, that's cool. Fucking weird, but whatever. But I don't know. That's just my rant for the day. Again, I think Diablo 4, it's a fun game. It's a good game, but it's it just doesn't you don't get that same like dopamine rush of like almost like gambling, you know, getting like a super fucking rare item. Like you should have seen the hype. I wish I was recording at the time when I got that gold dagger off the first mob. Like I was hyped. I was like, oh my god, I like my first unique, and it's fucking gold. It's an awesome dagger. Like it's just the hype of getting those. Whereas like Diablo 4, it's just gonna be an infinite grind. That's all it's gonna be. And you're gonna be Paragon level infinite. And you're gonna be hitting people for 300 million damage. And it's just gonna I don't know. I just think it's gonna get fucking old quick. And people are just gonna kind of drop it. It's not gonna have any staying power like Diablo 2 did. Diablo 2, there are still people playing Diablo 2. And I don't even mean Diablo 2 Resurrected. I mean the original. People are still playing that thing. It's like how I play Caesar 3 still and how I play Stronghold Crusader. It's because those were peak games. The modern Stronghold games, not as good. But Crusader, fucking mint. So that's all I had for you guys today. Kind of a slow news day, but it is what it is. I'm pretty sore for my trip. I want to hopefully get better. This sickness, I know. Again, I've been sick so much lately. It's been fucking ridiculous. But this time it was kind of had a reason. It's just a little cold here. It's not too bad, but I think it's because I was up all night drinking the one night, and if you drink and you get like 4 hours of sleep, like you might as well just accept it. You're gonna be sick, so that's what happens. But either way, thank you guys so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, follow the podcast on all social media. Links are in the description below, and I will see you next week with hopefully less coughing. That would be great. You know, we'll see you then. Bye.